Hey everybody, this is Mel, and I wanted to come to you in a segment really quick, really short, to talk about triggers. And a lot of people feel that we shouldn't use quote unquote triggers, meaning words, certain words that could possibly affect someone or cause them to do the wrong thing. But especially when it comes to suicide, trigger word. Coming from a person who has actually experienced suicide herself, who's actually attempted it twice, and gone through the whole process of how to deal with it and live from it, and how to deal with depression. Those triggers are actually, coming from my perspective alone, are the things that need to be actually looked at. You know, it says you shouldn't say, you hear a lot of people say you shouldn't say certain words because it could cause them to do certain things. But in my opinion, especially those of us who are in the counseling, coaching session areas, we really need to be strong in those areas. Those trigger words should not, especially if we're talking to an audience of fellow counselors, coaches, trainers, yada yada, then those trigger words should not even affect us. But at the same time, those trigger words are the very things that we need to look at, because those are the things, if we don't look at the triggers and we don't talk about the triggers, you can't fix what is broken. It's just like in life. If you are dealing with something and all of a sudden something comes up and a person doesn't even know that they triggered you, then how is it going to be fixed? How is it going to get taken care of? How are you going to be able to heal from the situation? You have to look at those things. Again, coming from someone who has personally attempted suicide twice. Second time ended up in the psych ward. I know what I'm talking about. And the one thing I want to tell everyone is, unless you've walked in those shoes of that person, unless you've talked to someone who's actually made it through attempted suicide and did not cross over, unless you've had a decent conversation with them and understood what they possibly could have been going through, unless you know their fight, unless you know their plight, unless you know what they've dealt with from the moment they started breathing here on earth, you can't possibly understand why they did what they did. And to sit up and say, well, they were crazy, they shouldn't have done what they did, or I wouldn't have done it and it didn't make any sense and they were selfish. I want you guys to understand, it's not even about you. When a person is attempting suicide, they're trying to find themselves. And sometimes we put the world and everybody else and their thoughts ahead of us so much that because we want to be a part of something better. We want to be loved. We want to be liked. We don't even see who we are, because we haven't even learned to love ourselves, because we've been treated a certain way most of our life. You don't know what type of traumas that person has been through to make them even want to consider suicide. So, two things I want to leave you with as far as trigger words. Yes, we need to fix the triggers. We need to figure out why those triggers cause that person to want to do the things that they do. Yell, scream, whatever it is. Throw tantrums, anger. It's just so much violence. It's a trigger. And until you face those triggers, you cannot get healed. So to be afraid to mention those triggers, if it triggers that person, that tells you that's something that needs to be fixed. Because to ignore it and walk on eggshells, in order for a person not to go that route is not helping them. It's actually doing more harm because the situation has not been addressed. So, yes, deal with the triggers, whatever they may be. And don't judge a person for whatever they've already done because, again, you have not walked their shoes. And yes, they're not thinking about you. I'll leave you with that. Have a good night. This is Mel, Dr. Mel V. Signing off. Coach Mel V. Signing off. I love you all. Have a good day.